Welcome to this part 4 on conditional formatting. As I introduced you in the short video I shared recently, I am going to show you how we can build such a dynamic conditional formatting where you can anything you change is applied to the table without changing any other thing manually, because it is fully dynamic. You can see my use case here is identifying which student has got the highest result within these 30 students. My use case is a classroom of 30 students, and I assume that in this classroom we are going to be looking who got the highest result. If I share a scenario like this one, you can think of any other use case in your in your specialization that can be that you can use this kind of conditional formatting. That's the reason behind teaching online. I can share you a case study, and you can apply it to your own case depending on your use case. As far as I know, this dynamic table, I am going to show you how I created it step by step. This case, as you see, I can identify each student who got the highest result in each course. At the end, I show you who got the highest marks in the whole 7 courses. Uh, as you can see, if I raise up these marks from 70 to 103, you will have two winners in this table, because I have 2 marks which are the highest marks, but they are both equal. If I add another value here, like 107, because it is the new highest value, all the previous 2 highest value will be deselected, because the conditional formatting has identified another new highest marks. How can we create such a conditional formatting? Let me start without delaying. I have a raw data which I built on that use case. On this sheet, I have final marks. This is the worked example. I'm going to use this raw data. This raw data, where do we start from? Before showing you how I'm going to start, let me show you which conditions I am going to be working under. My dataset starts on the second row. That is my use case. Let me put this table in this content in blue, because it is a title. And another condition for me, I have already created a named range named courses combined for, and this virasa. I'm going to explain a little bit how you can for creation of named ranges. I remember I interpreted in the previous parts on I think it's in data validation. If you are not aware of how named ranges works, you can go back and check for my tutorial on data validation. For now, let me show you what I mean for named ranges. If I come here and click on Virasa, that named ranges, it will take me to where that range is located. This is the named ranges called Virasa. If you want to name a range like this one, you can select the range selected intended range. Then you come here and let me call it Fabrice, like this one. If I click enter, this range already is named Fabrice. If I click outside that range and I come back here, select Fabrice, you see that named range will come back. That is how named ranges are called. It is a shortcut to reference to a given content without using normal referencing steps, like using AB to D7. To summarize, to shorten that ranging references, I use named ranges. That is condition number 2. What I'm going to show you is how you can build such a dynamic conditional formatting from scratch. Let me start and I show you this table. I will starting by selecting the second row without selecting the header, because my header, normally I avoid selecting my header because Excel can confuse my header as part of the dataset. My dataset starts on this named number 1. This number 1 is where my dataset starts. Then I select using Control Shift down arrow. I select the whole dataset. After selecting the whole dataset, I come to Home tab. I click on Conditional Formatting, Manage Rule. I click on New Rule. Then I will be using a formula. I'm going to combine multiple functions and operations, and my first function to be used is AND function. This AND function, I explained it in conditional formatting tutorial part 1, part 2 or part 3. You can go back if you are not sure how AND function works. You can find the description on that function there. Then I open parentheses. Then after opening parentheses, I am going, because my conditional formatting will be dynamic, it will be basing on the content here and the column here, column header here. I'll be telling Excel to check if this column here is equal to the content here. That means that if I change content here, my conditional formatting will be checking the header selected here and check the content basing on column header. And I need to fix to make sure that fixing is correct, because moving between column will be dynamic. I will be needing to remove this $sign. As I told you before, this $sign means I have fixed that column or that row. For my case, this for this case to be fully dynamic, I need to defix, or I need to remove that $sign in front of D. Then I write comma. After writing comma, I need to come back here and tell Excel this value here, this D3, this 11 here, will be equal to maximum value. Maximum value is a function used to check a maximum value within a selected range. The maximum will be identified within this whole column. My use case, I will be writing function. I will be writing conditional formatting for every column for it to be dynamic. Then this column should be fully fixed. But for this value, because the maximum value will be checked on the first row, second row, third row, and so on. I will need to remove this dollar sign on number 3. I will remove the dollar sign there. Then I close using double parentheses. I come here and change the color to green. After changing color to green, I will be expecting that something has changed. But my function used here, as you see, it is not what I am expecting. I need to go back and check where I committed error. Where I committed error here, let me check. I need to fix here. I put back the dollar sign. Why do I put back the dollar sign? It's because my conditional formatting for this column should be applied to this column alone. If I want this conditional formatting to be applied here, I will be using another similar function, a similar combination of this operation dedicated to this column. Let me show you. If I click OK, you see the whole row is selected. But for before fixing this D, there was no possibility to fix to select the whole row. Why? It's because if you do not fix here, if you do not fix that D, it will be selecting the content in the first column only without selecting the whole row. My case, I will be in need of selecting the whole row. I will be in need of selecting the whole column. Then I click OK. After clicking OK, you see this row has been selected because 20 here is the maximum number on this column D. This 20 value was selected because it is the maximum number. This 20 as well, it is the same case. If I put like 21 here, you see all the 20s are deselected, then 21 is selected as the highest marks. Let me undo it. That is how I apply for automation for all the rows. I think that is clear. I'll be sharing you the functions I use in this case, in this tutorial. Then next part is I am going to select this content, all these rows, starting from mathematics, this column D. Then I go down, I select the whole data set without selecting column A, B, C. That is the step 2. After selecting that, I come to conditional formatting. I create a new rule. This new rule, what will it be doing? For this, I am going to check if mathematics is here, this column will be selected. But to make it automatic, I need to combine two operations. I'm going to tell Excel to check if the content here is equal to this content. Then the color should be let me see. The color should be yellow. Let me check it. Then I click OK. There is issue. What is the issue? Maybe you can guess it. The issue is on fixing. To make this dynamic and column wise, I need to fix on rows, because this column should be dynamic horizontally but not vertically. I need to remove this dollar sign in front of D, because I can move from D to E, but I cannot move from 2 to 3, because I am checking if mathematic here is equal to mathematic here. But if you go down, you will never find a column header. If you move vertically, you need to move horizontally. That is why I remove the dollar sign in front of D. Then I click OK. After clicking OK, you see the intended column is now selected. If I change to make it to make sure it is reflected on all column, if I check for chemistry, you see chemistry is selected. If I check for ICT, you see ICT is selected. That is how we make dynamic for column, and we have seen how we made dynamic for rows. But for my case, if I select geography here, there is something I need to add on the first step. If I select geography, column E is selected, but there is no row selected. Why? Because to make this dynamic, I need to duplicate the conditions I applied to mathematic, to this column of mathematic, and I apply it to the remaining these rows, to the remaining column. Because you see, if I select mathematic column is mathematic is selected, and the rows for maximum value. But if I select geography, there will be no maximum value. The same applies to the remaining columns. There is nothing selected as maximum value. How do I make sure Excel will be showing me the maximum value for the remaining column? I need to go back. Let me show you another condition I have not shown you. I have duplicated this combined function here. Let me use wrap text. I have this to make it fast. I have duplicated this function. The function, it is the first function I used, and D3 maximum, D3 and D to D32. This is the function I used for the first step. And I duplicated it using this and. You see, and 1, and 2, you see, and 3, you see, and 4, and 5, and so on. I duplicate this function for all the columns to make it dynamic. Then I am going to select to copy this whole content. I come back here. I'm going to remove this wrap text to make sure it does not create a confusion. Then I click on home to get back on my dataset. I select the whole table. You remember, for the first part, the first step, we selected the whole dataset. Then I come to manage rule. I edit this conditional formatting. I select the whole. Make sure you do not use shift. I am using mouse to select this whole content. I remove it and I put back the whole function. This whole function is a combination. Let me show you. This is the first function we used. This is the first function to select content for only mathematics. If I want to make it possible for this next column, then the next column, the next column, I need to repeat to repeat this part, I repeat it. You see here. let me remove it. I have clicked so many times, and Excel is guessing like I am indicating other ranges it should include. You see here I used D3 maximum function D3 to D32. Then here I used D3 equal to O3. This is the function I used for step 1. Excuse me. Then this function, this selected function, I have duplicated it here. I move from D3, I use E3. D3 is first steps, then I shift to E3. Then this OR function, this OR function is used to combine multiple functions. In summary, I tell Excel, you check for this column. After finishing for this column, you can go ahead and check for this column. You can go ahead and check for this column. That's why I use OR function. OR function, I told you before, you go back and check part 2 on conditional formatting, how OR function works. It combines multiple functions, and whenever one condition is true, all the conditions are set to true. If one function, if all the functions are false, or all the conditions are false, all function will return false. Then in this case, I have combined multiple functions. Then I click OK. After clicking OK, you see for history, all the maximum value Melissa and Stephanie got the 20 highest marks. They are selected now because I have created conditional formatting for each column to be dynamic. If I change and I check for ICT, you see for ICT I have the highest result being 20. If I write here manually 21, you see 21 will become the highest marks on ICT. You see, I undo it. Then how do I highlight or emphasize on this highest value? I come back and select this dataset, especially on marks. Then I go back to create the third rule. I have two rules. The first rule was green one. The second one was yellow one. I am going to add another one. The other one will be basing on how do I create it. I am going to tell Excel this value will be equal to the maximum, of what? Of this one, this whole column. Then I close that maximum. How do I fix for these references? Because the value will be shifting from column to column and from row to row, I am going to remove this $sign. Again, I want this value to move vertically and horizontally. I am going to remove this one as well. Then for maximum to work dynamically in all directions, I am going to remove this $sign before D and this $sign before D. But for 3 and 32, I maintain that $sign because my dataset crosses to the 32nd row. I don't need to go down here. I need to fix from row 3 to row 32. Then I change color here. I put it, let me use the orange, then OK, then OK. after applying OK, you see there is a confusion. Excel has now created a confusion which I need to check why. You see this orange here. Let me check why did there is a need. I have missed something here. Because I want to make it dynamic, I need to combine. I need to combine. I need to use AND. I combine this function, and the value here should be equal to this one. Then I close it. I need to fix this. Then I keep it as they are. Then if I click OK, you see that mess up has disappeared now. You see only 20 is highlighted in orange. 20 here is highlighted in orange. Let me change from ICT to geography. You see 20 now is in yellow. No, it is in orange. 20 here is in orange to make it emphasized. That is how we make this kind of conditional formatting in a kind of dynamic. Whenever I change, everything is going to be changed. Let me remove this, and I put let me raise this max to 21. You see the conditional formatting has changed because I changed the max. So how now I am going to make, if I click on total value, here I am going to add a text here showing who is the winner or who is the first in this classroom. How do I do it? It is a kind of funny, but I am going to show you. I am going to write this is let me write first in class. In this class, let me write like this. If I write this, and I am going to use this these signs to show who is the first, where is he located, is he or she located, and I apply this whole content for each cell. If I write this content for each cell, I assume whoever here can be the first in this class. How do I make it dynamic? I am going to change to change the color of this content. I make it seem like not there, but for me I know it is there. I have only changed the color. I have changed the font for this content. Then I am going to change the conditional formatting. My last conditional formatting, the new rule will base on the current selection here. I am going to use a formula as well. I am going to tell Excel, if total is selected, if this column here, the column header being total, is equal to this one, then if it is equal to this one, I'm going to combine these two formulas. I'm going to use AND. If K2 is equal to O3, then comma, I'm going to ask this value if it is the maximum value. If this value is the maximum value, remove the fixing on the number, because this value will be checked vertically. I will check for this value, this one, for the whole column on total. If this is equal to maximum value between this whole range, then I close this maximum function, then I close again for AND function. But I need to tell you this total is fixed now. I should fix it fully, because I'm not going to to move from total to any other course here, because I know total is the only column containing the total value for all the 7 courses. Then I am going to change the color here. I'm going to change the color. What will be the color here? Let me use this color, green, which is a little bit separated from this green. And then I am going to change for the border. I'm going to use, let me use which one? Let me use like this one. Then I use this outline. Then I change the font. The font will be automatic. After making it automatic, I am going to let me put it in bold italic. Then I click OK. After clicking OK, I click OK again. You see,